What's up, everybody? My name's Josh. I'm here with Dylan, and we're Money Mavericks, and we started a community to help you think differently about money. Dylan, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, excited for the conversation today. We're going to unpack why it is we as people will self-sabotage our finances so often, and how to stop with a focus on
Yeah.
community, accountability, and discipline. And so, for those of you guys listening, it's just, have you ever wondered, why you might feel like you keep getting in your own way when it comes to money? Have you ever felt like that, Josh? Like you're getting in your own way?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, we're our own worst enemy, that whole kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the idea is that self-sabotage in finances is honestly like more common than you think. But by building a supportive community and using accountability and really developing that financial discipline, all of these things, like they can feel a little bit like ethereal and weird, but they're absolutely essential when it comes. I mean, think of it like, why are personal trainers such a good thing? Because they
Yeah.
force you to do the hard things that you don't want to do. They force you into discipline and they force you into accountability. So that's why we harp on like accountability, discipline, community when it comes to finances. Because with those things, you can really stop those behaviors and take control of your financial future. So today, we're just going to try and understand self-sabotaging financial behaviors, why we do it, and how to overcome it using practical strategies that involve those three things: community, accountability, and discipline. But Dylan, what let's start here. What is financial self-sabotage?
Yeah, financial self-sabotage, simply put, is making decisions that undermine your financial well-being, oftentimes unconsciously. So, some examples of that would be overspending, living paycheck to paycheck despite earning a livable wage, avoiding savings, or accumulating debt. Those are some kind of examples of self-sabotaging things. And some other just common self-sabotaging behaviors would be like impulse buying or emotional spending, avoiding budgeting or financial planning, failing to invest or plan for the future, making financial decisions out of fear or guilt. A lot of those are things that we have both felt before, and our audience has
100%.
certainly felt before. And
Dude,
a lot of them are,
impulse buying is
yeah.
everything. Like,
And
I'm driving by Starbucks, like, I'll just grab one really quick. It's only a few bucks, right? But you
Yeah.
do that multiple times a week and it adds up to a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what's crazy about so many of these is that so many of them happen unconsciously when we lack the accountability, the community, and the discipline. These things just happen to us and we don't even realize it. I was listening to the Ramsey Show the other day, and he had a caller come in that was just sharing their life story, a family that made $170,000 a year, but was 4 months behind on their mortgage and was about to be foreclosed on and had $0 in their checking account to their name. And it's just it. And when Dave started unpacking, with this caller, the reasons behind it just became so obvious that they just weren't even aware of their own self-sabotaging behaviors. So what is it? Why do we self-sabotage our finances?
I think it's a good question. I think there's so many different things that can, really go into it. Some people self-sabotage to avoid like potential disappointment of failure. And so if they never try to succeed financially, they can't fail, right? So it's like they're risk averse to a fault. Another one is like they're comfortable in familiar patterns. So oftentimes people will repeat like familiar financial behaviors, even negative ones, because it's what they know. And change for anybody is uncomfortable. It's not an easy thing to have to walk through. And then maybe a third one might be like emotional comfort. So like emotional spending or impulse buying, like I mentioned, buying a Starbucks or something like that when you're driving by, like it feels good in the moment. Like it does. You're like, oh man, it's like a comfort thing. You're like, like it's only a few bucks. Like I'll pick up the Starbucks. Like, it just sounds really good right now. But emotional spending or impulse buying, it, like I said, provides like a short-term relief from stress or anxiety or even boredom. But honestly, it leads to long-term financial harm. And it doesn't have to be just like small purchases. It can be like big purchases too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and for our community here, I'm sure so much of that, they resonate with, and but I'm sure there's some people listening and in our community that probably fall into the same category as the caller on the Ramsey Show, that they just are unaware of their own self-sabotaging patterns, and so
this is why it takes a third person, like an impartial person, to come in and like why are you doing that? Like, why are you why are you spending money on that? Because again, we make decisions, like you said, subconsciously without even thinking about it a lot of the time. And it's like,
that's right.
You need somebody else to come in and say, why are you doing that? And not just to ask the hard question of why are you doing that, but then to follow up with that with ongoing accountability and discipline.
Yeah. And we want to give you guys, just to start that process, if that's where you're at, where you're like, man, I didn't even realize I was doing this, or am I doing this, is the question you're asking. Just some self-reflection questions that can start to help you identify your own patterns of self-sabotage. First one being, do you often spend money when you're emotional, feeling down, or stressed?
Write these down.
Yeah, write these down. Do you find yourself spending money when you are overly emotional, feeling down, or stressed? Do you avoid checking your bank account even on a regular basis because you're scared of what's in there? Do you avoid setting financial goals? Are you regularly making decisions that conflict with your long-term financial goals? Those are just some questions that you can start to answer that will help you know where you're at and begin to be aware of who you are and how you're acting in that world. Josh, tell me some ways that practically we can start identifying and tracking patterns.
Yeah, and it's so simple, Dylan. And it's like, I mean, even our listeners right now, they're probably already thinking of ways with us just bringing it up. Like everybody already knows the ways and the things to do. I'll go over a few brief ones. But then, like we always talk about, like the accountability and discipline and community elements are what are going to take it from up here to something that happens out here.
That's right.
But a few ways to track your spending habits, financial decisions, and emotional triggers. Obviously requires that discipline. Keep a money journal. If you're into Excel, use Excel, right? If you have a notes app, use a notes app on your phone, or, I know Dave Ramsey has the Every Dollar app. You can use that, but keep a money journal, and track. I mean, this is like literally businesses do this. They call it like their accounting department, right? And so like you have to have why, if businesses are doing it and if they don't do it, they fail. Why would you not do it in your personal life? You have to do it in your personal life as well. So keep a money journal, an accounting spreadsheet if you want to, of your own personal finances, where you record how, maybe even how you feel when you do make financial decisions. But Dylan, I think there's maybe one thing that is a key to consistency. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of become a mantra around here. I think in our videos, in our community, accountability is the key to consistency. Yeah. That's it. Accountability is the key to consistency, and accountability works because it forces you to be honest about your habits and decisions.
Yes.
I like repeating things for emphasis, right? I mean, we need to say that again. Accountability works because it forces you to be honest about your habits and decisions. You got to be honest about where you are at. I mean, just unpack that a little bit for me, Josh. I mean,
yeah, like an accountability. I mean, I guess maybe we should define like what an accountability partner is. You can have an accountability partner in any area of your life, not just finances, but think of it like a personal trainer for your finances. Okay. It's like you have a personal trainer for fitness, or some people do anyways, who they are going to track your progress. They are going to push you. They're going to expect you to show up because you're paying for it. Right. In the same way, if you have like a personal trainer for your finances, that's essentially like what an accountability partner might be for your financial world. And so it's somebody who is going to check in on you. They're going to ask you the hard questions. They're going to take a deep look and a deep dive into how things are going. And really, an accountability partner, they can help you catch self-sabotaging patterns by offering support, when you're tempted to slip back into old behaviors. And so, I mean, I cannot overstate this enough, how important it is to not do this alone, frankly, is what it comes down to, but to have a community, to have and even one individual who knows you really, really intimately in your financial world, how important it is to your financial success.
Yeah, that's so good. And again, I mean, just to take it back to how we want to practically come alongside you. I mean, this is why we've created our Discord community. This is why it exists, because we want to provide that space. We want to provide that accountability for you. And to provide a safe space where that exists, where it's judgment free. And so, and as we keep talking about community discipline, I mean, let's talk about the importance of discipline in this, right? We know that it's hard to have discipline without the accountability. I mean, but just talk to me practically a little bit, talk to our community, kind of the steps to building discipline in this area.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just a few quick tips. Number one, start small. Don't try and take the hill on the first go, but start small with manageable goals, such as like saving a set amount each week or setting limits on non-essential spending. It's okay to spend money on yourself, frankly. Like, don't feel guilty about spending money on yourself. But do know that you are telling that money where to go instead of wondering where it went. That's a Dave Ramsey-ism for you. So step one, or tip one, start small. Tip two, automate good habits. So set up automatic transfers. That way, you're literally taking the emotion out of it by automatic transfers to savings, investments, or debt payments or whatever, to ensure consistent progress without needing constant decision making. If you can take the decision making out of it, it's funny actually. There's studies out there that says we make thousands of decisions every day, but we can, as humans, almost get decision fatigue because of how many decisions there are. And so if we're bombarded with more and larger decisions, we get fatigued. And it's like, oh my gosh, if I have to make another decision, like I'm going to, you become so inundated with it at some point. And so if you can, like I said, take the decision out of it because you've already made the decision prior to being forced to make the decision, then you set yourself up for success. And then tip number three, use visual tools to track progress, like a chart app, reward system for hitting milestones. I actually did this when we paid off one of our cars. I literally made just like a custom thing in Word, and it was like a dollar sign, and I divided up the dollar sign into I think it was like 10 sections or 12 sections or something like that. And each month, because we were making extra payments on the car and everything, but each month, and we literally posted this on a cork board in our kitchen so we would see it all the time. And each month when I paid off an additional amount, I would color it in with a Sharpie. And so just even seeing that chart and seeing the progress is so motivating. And it and the funny thing is, this is the crazy part, is that we ended up paying off before that because I was like, oh, we have, a little extra money. Like, let's just finish it out now, So, it's so important to be able to see those kind of things. So again, start small, automate good habits, and you being able to see it everywhere is really helpful for you. So take that for what it's worth. How about, Dylan, you want to talk about tips for stopping financial self-sabotage?
Yeah. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is something we've talked about before, and we're going to continue to talk about because it's the very essence of this community that we've created. The idea of money mavericks. We've talked about that word, mavericks. It's the idea of, it's a free running wild animal, but it also kind of like applies to the idea of like somebody that's thinking differently and independently than the world. And that implies a mindset shift, a difference in the way you think. And so you just need to start to reframe practically the way you think about yourself and the way you think about money. Yes. Again, this is something we've already talked about, but don't tell yourself and believe the lie that you're bad with money. Start telling yourself that you're learning to manage your money better and better every day. That's a simple mindset shift that can have a lot of power. Start to practice gratitude and contentment to combat the battle the emotional impulse spending can bring. You already talked about it, but setting clear and realistic financial goals, just practically. I mean, an example, like setting a goal to save $1,000 in 6 months for an emergency fund, and breaking it down into weekly savings targets, 167 per week, 39 per month, $39 per week. And track your success like that. Print a chart, right? I mean, those are just some practical ways that you as an individual can start today. But we want you to move beyond just, okay, I'm motivated now in the here and now for me to do something on my own, and I'm going to start this.
Yes.
If you've got that level of self-motivation, great. But motivation is fleeting. It's not going to last forever. So with that, I mean, what are we really driving towards here, Josh?
Yeah. No, I love that you mentioned that motivation is fleeting because it doesn't last forever. And it's like, what do you do when motivation runs out? Are you going to be able to motivate yourself all the time? Maybe you can, but most of us can't, right? This is why, again, not to beat the dead horse, but this is why accountability and community are so important. But, at the end of the day, like, financial self-sabotage is common. But with the right community and discipline and accountability around you, you really can break through the cycle and build a stronger financial future. So really it comes down to joining our community. There's different versions of it and everything. There's one for free, just to get to know us a little bit. We'll message you back and, kind of get to know you and, kind of get an idea of where you're at. But then we'd love to hear your experiences as well with financial self-sabotage. Feel free to share in the comments. Be open about it. It's not weird. I know, like, on social media, there's this weird, like all we do is fight and yell at each other. But it's like, let's change that. Let's actually be a community of people who are actually wanting to help and move things forward instead of just tear people down. Because at the end of the day, being vulnerable with your situation is really how you grow. And that's how you're going to get better. So we would love to see you in the Discord. Any final closing thoughts, Dylan?
No, yeah, that kind of final statement of just like, remember that self-sabotaging habits, you're not alone. It is a normal human behavior, and it's also challenging, but it is possible to overcome with the right support, mindset, and consistent action. Just remember that, and you're on your way to becoming a money maverick.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the Discord, everybody. Peace.
See ya.